Good.
There we go. We are now being recorded. So I don't want to take too much time, but I do have some comments that I'd like to make. The series, as I've mentioned already, first began in 2011 when Gracia Molina de Pic, the founding member of the Chicana and Chicano Studies Department here at Mesa College, made a generous donation of over $80,000 to our department in order to establish a Chicano Studies endowment. This endowment has certainly helped us to better serve our students and the Mesa community in so many ways, including a scholarship that is awarded to a Mesa College student every year in Gracia Molina de Pic's name. In an effort to carry on her spirit and to show our appreciation for all that Gracia has done for our department and for our students, we made the decision to host an annual lecture series that would recognize and celebrate the accomplishments and achievements of Chicana activists, artists, and scholars from San Diego and California. Our series began with Sylvia Mendez, whose court case Mendez versus Westminster was instrumental in ending segregation in California and ultimately throughout the nation, and has since featured some amazing Chicanas, including Chicano Park activist Tommy Camarillo, historian Maria Garcia, artivist Fabiana Rodriguez, and founder of the Cesar Chavez Service Club, Linda Legretti. This is truly an impressive list. And with Josephine Talamantez, today's presenter, the list is only going to become even more impressive. Is there any doubt why I'm feeling so much pride this morning? Now, I don't want to take too much of your time, but it is important to recognize all of those who've helped to make this series such a great and successful event for our department and for the college as a whole. First and foremost, I want to thank the Chicano Studies faculty, including Mike Ornelas, Victoria Chavez, Oscar Canedo, Stephen Moreno Terrell, Jennifer Moreno, Olivia Quintanilla, and Alejandra Sanchez. Thank you so much for all that you do for our students. Thank you especially also to Alessandra Moctezuma for your work with the Gracia Committee. Alessandra has been a part of this committee from the very beginning, and her contributions to preserving Gracia's legacy have been invaluable. To Denise Rogers and the Humanities Institute, who've always showed us unconditional support. To Krista Stelmacher from the Mesa College Foundation and Lorenz Legaspi, VP of Administrative Services, for all of your help with the financial end of the endowment. Thank you also to our deans, Charlie Zappia and Leslie Shimazaki, for your support. And of course, to our amazing vice presidents, Ashanti Hands and Isabel O'Connor, for your support as well. And of course, President Pam Luster, whose support throughout the years has certainly been a big reason why this event is so successful. I know that Pam takes a lot of pride in saying that she came in to the college at the same year that we began this event. So Pam, thank you so much for all of your support as well. Everybody, thank you so much. And if there's anybody that I forgot to name, I apologize. So many people have been so important to the success of this event, and I thank all of you who've done so. Before we move on, I would like to ask Isabel O'Connor to take a couple of moments to give a welcoming comments. Isabel, let me go ahead and, I think I lost her, hold on a second. Okay, Isabel, I think I have you now.
Yeah, there she is.
Okay, and I am unmuted, can you hear me?
Yes.
I don't know if you can see me, but anyway, in any case, thank you so much for the opportunity to say a couple of words on behalf of President Pam Luster, a big supporter, of course, of this event and the department, and who sends her regrets today. She could not be with us. Wow, 10 years, Manuel. I could see the joy and it's very justified. Congratulations. We are at Mesa College enormously grateful to Gracia Molina de Pic for her vision. And, you know, in these days when we hear a lot about call to action, Gracia never waited for a call to action. She led the call to action. She called the call to action. And then she led by example, not just at Mesa and locally, but statewide. As we now implement some of her vision to put into the curriculum a requirement to take an ethnic studies class. We are in a different position than many colleges across the state because of Gracia's leadership. We have a vibrant program that is a gem. And we also have not only a program in the classroom, but we have activities like today's lecture I'm really excited for. So once again, thank you to Gracia Molina de Pic, to her entire family, to her son Daniel, for the generous legacy that they gave to Mesa. We will perpetuate and we will continue this important effort. It's not just a lecture, it's not just a program, it's an everyday call to action and an action-oriented thing. And we are there, thanks to Gracia for taking the leadership. So thanks again. And again, Pam's regrets for not being here today.
Thank you so much, Isabel. And send Pam our thoughts and our well wishes also. So before I do pass this on to Victoria, there are two more people that I would like to recognize. First and foremost, certainly I need to recognize Daniel Pick and the Molina de Pick family. Daniel has been such a strong supporter of the Chicano Studies department and has always been very, very active in our work with Gracia as well as in this feminist lecture. So Daniel, thank you so much for your support and to the entire Pick family. And then finally, I also want to take a moment and recognize and thank our Chicano Studies Chair, Professor Cesar Lopez, certainly not only for his dedication to the lecture series, but his dedication to the department as well, and even to Chicano Studies as a whole. As some of you may know, unfortunately, Professor Lopez suffered a major medical event recently that has forced him to take a leave of absence, but I feel it's important to recognize the work that he did. And that, as a matter of fact, this event wouldn't be happening today if it wasn't for the organization of Professor Lopez. He really organized the entire thing, and I'm just kind of stepping in the end to finish up the work. But I want to definitely take a moment to recognize Cesar, not only for the work that he did for this particular event, but all of the work that he does, not only for Chicano Studies, but for all of our students at Mesa College. He can't be here with us today because he is focusing on his own health and well-being, but he will be watching this later as we are recording the event. And Cesar, I want you to know that everybody here is thinking about you. We all love and support you, and we're very much looking forward to when you can come back to campus and host these events yourself. Okay, so I think I've taken a lot of time already, and I want to make sure that we have enough time for our amazing speaker. So I'm now going to pass the mic over to Victoria Chavez, who will do the wonderful job of introducing Josie to us. Victoria?
Thank you so much. Thank you and welcome everybody. I'm really excited to be here. This feminist lecture series is the highlight of our work as a department every year when we really give the spotlight to feminists who have made such a big impact on all of us and really have helped to open the path towards justice that we all seek and all find so very important. Again, I am Victoria Chavez. I teach La Chicana for the department. So if you are interested in feminist studies or want to further your understanding of feminism, I welcome you to come and take the class with me and really learn more about the wonderful work of Chicana women. So today we are really, really happy to welcome Ms. Josephine Talamantez to this 10th annual feminist lecture series done in the memory of Gracia Molina de Pic. And this is a woman that we are going to hear from today who has paved the way towards fulfillment of a feminist vision of social, economic, and environmental justice. Additionally, as a Chicano leader, today's guest is truly an inspiration as she has accomplished much in her life, even with faced with the multiple barriers that exist in our society for women who are othered. You know, those obstructions that are put into place by the oppressive nature of white male supremacy. Ms. Talamantez's work focuses on the effort to combat racist and social injustices that have historically plagued the Barrio, Logan, and Portside communities of San Diego. Such injustices continue to this day, but because of Josephine's tireless work, we are in a much better position to succeed in finding long-term solutions and tangible successes that otherwise would not have been realized. Josephine Talamantez, a San Diego native of Chicana and Yaqui descent, has accomplished much in her over 50 years of activism. Let me just highlight a few of her achievements. Co-founder of Chicano Park and a member of the Chicano Park Steering Committee. She's a member of the Royal Chicano Air Force as an internationally known collective of artists, including the Chicano Park Muralist. Her efforts have helped to achieve gaining recognition of Chicano Park and the Monumental Murals to the National Register of Historic Places in 2013, which later led to being recognized under President Obama as a national landmark in 2016. She is also the co-founder of the Chicano Park Museum, or she is the founder of the Chicano Park Museum and Cultural Center, which specializes in art, history, science of Chicano, Mexicano, Latino, and Indigenous peoples, along with issues along the border region. Currently, her efforts include Barrio Logan Planning Group, which is trying to get Barrio Logan up to date, as well as being an integral part of the Barrio Logan Association Maintenance Assessment District, and most recently as a member of the Air Pollution Control District Steering Committee, all representing the Barrio Logan and Portside community. Again, this is but an abbreviated list of her many accomplishments, and we are so very, very fortunate to have her joining us today. It is truly my honor and my privilege to welcome Ms. Josephine Talamantez as this year's Gracia Molina de Pic guest lecturer. Please let us join together and welcome her to San Diego Mesa College. Josephine?
Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. I'm so honored to be asked to be a presenter in Gracia Molina de Pic's contributions and recognition of women that are working in education, that represent feminism and are dedicated to community colleges, women that work in communities. I'm just honored. I remember Graciela very well. I was a student at San Diego City College, and I remember the ground organizing of Graciela, Alicia Crow, Mr. Escamilla, and all the other counselors and professors at City. And we would meet. I remember meeting at her house, and we were organizing and doing all kinds of things. So I'm really honored to be in this position today. Well, the title that I was given is Racism, Segregation, Neglect that led to Chicano Park and the Chicano Park murals becoming a national landmark. So I think what I'd like to do is share my screen and start with some slides and discussion, and then open it up for the Q&A afterwards. So I'll let that speak for itself. So let me try doing this. All right, I think, there you go, there you go. Okay, so, and I will say that this presentation has evolved a bit since we started to do it last year, and then COVID hit, and we didn't know whether we would go virtual or stay live, and finally we just said, well, we don't even know how to do virtual at that time, so I said, let's postpone. So here we are. And then we were about to do it again last month. And Cesar, if you're listening, you've been in my prayers, and I'm praying for a speedy recovery for you because we need you. So do that physical therapy. All right, so we're gonna start this. Segregation, racism, neglect that led to Chicano Park and the Monumental Murals becoming a national landmark. I'm gonna start with the way we work and the way I had gone about listing on the National Register included all of the arts. So it was art, you know, performing arts, poetry, literature, music, songwriting. So this is the story, and you've all heard it, but I like to start it here because this is the historic mural. So let me do this. And remember, the words tell the story.
San Diego, under the Coronado Bridge, lied a little piece of land. A piece of land that the community of Logan Heights wanted to make into a park. A park where all the chavalitos could come and play in, so they wouldn't have to play in the street anymore and get run over by a car. A park where all the viejitos could come and just sit down and watch the sun go down in the tarde. A park where all the familias could come and just get together on a Sunday afternoon and celebrate the spirit of life itself. But the city of San Diego said, chale, we're gonna make a highway patrol substation here, man. So on April the 22nd, 1970, La Raza of Logan Heights and other Chicano communities of San Diego got together and they organized and they walked on the land and they took it over with their picks and their shovels and they began to build their park. And today, that little piece of land under the Coronado Bridge is known to everybody as Chicano Park. It began in 1970 under the Coronado Bridge in mi barrio in San Diego, where my people began to fight for Chicano Park, for Chicano Park. Under the bridge, under the bridge, under the bridge.
So I'm going to go backwards and start with the history of Logan Heights and Barrio Logan. So the historical continuity of Logan Heights region has been consistent since prehistoric times with the First Nation people, the Laipai people, Northern and Southern peoples recognized as Taipai. The Laipai, Taipai are present day Kumeyaay that are still present today on both sides of the Mexican border. And this, I wanted to show this as an Indian rancheria from 1879, located where right across the street from Salud Tacos is today, right on the corner of Sampson and Logan Avenue. So you get an understanding that the Kumeyaay were here. The other one, I couldn't find a photo of, I couldn't find it, but the other village was at the 32nd Naval Street station on 32nd and Harbor. So Logan Heights was inclusive of many different cultures throughout the 20th century, including Euro-American, African-American, Japanese, Italian, Native, and beyond. The community shared collective history, art, music, cuisine, horticulture, popular culture, science, and commerce that makes the neighborhood unique in the city of San Diego and the US-Mexican borderlands. This is a close-up photo of Barrio Logan, and this was, you can see right here on the side, this was the train tracks, and then this is current day Harbor Drive over here on the dirt. This is Chicano Park, would have been right in here. You can see all the density of the houses that were removed to put in the the Interstate 5. So we're located southeast of downtown San Diego, and Logan Heights is really boxed in by the Navy, Interstate 5, the Coronado Bay Bridge, and industry. So we have approximately 1,000 acres that are recognized as Barrio Logan. The port, the naval station comprise 562 acres, and the city does not have land use authority over the port of San Diego or the Navy properties. Barrio Logan is also located in the coastal zone, which makes us subject to the California Coastal Act. So I thought I'd show you a couple of photographs here from 1870, whoops. Forget this is, so this is Balboa Park. This used to be recognized as the East End, where you see this is what's left of Barrio Logan now. And then in 1863, you see the encroachment is further breaking down. This was all of Logan Heights, and this is what is left after the city renamed this section of Logan Heights, Barrio Logan. It's another frame from 1963. This is kind of the area that's left. This red orange part here, I'll talk a little bit more when I get to that. So those are the blocks that were in contention that caused the referendum back in 2013-14. Just a bigger picture of Barrio Logan, just to give you its context in the broader sense. Logan Heights, Barrio Logan. Chicano Park is right here at the bottom of the Coronado Bay Bridge. Just some, pictures. So it was primarily between the 20s and 50s, residential commercial development, and then that changed, which allowed light industry and then some heavy industry that came into the community. Why is Chicano Park important? It validates, preserves, and documents our history. It is a sacred land. It is our homeland. Logan Heights, AKA Barrio Logan, is the oldest neighborhood in San Diego. And due to restrictive residential covenants, Barrio Logan became the second largest barrio on the West Coast, of course, East LA being the largest. It was a self-contained neighborhood with its own business, community, entertainment centers, spiritual and religious sites. It was almost completely destroyed due to the lack of respect and appreciation of the fact that our community helped build San Diego. And thank God, Maria Garcia is coming out with a book pretty soon. We built, or we made San Diego, which is so accurate. In the 1950s and 60s, federal transportation policies, San Diego's rezoning strategy, and eminent domain set the barrio on a collision course with the powers that be. First Interstate 5 moving from Mexico to Canada, plowed right through the neighborhoods, displacing thousands of families. And the power of the state to come in through eminent domain and just knock on doors and move people out. City rezoning allowed junkyards, auto dismantlers, and other toxic industries to relocate in Barrio Logan next to houses and schoolyards. Then came the San Diego Coronado Bay, once again dissecting the community, this time east to west. And the neighborhood was reduced by 75%, 20,000 residents in the late 50s to less than 5,000 in 1970. Those residents and business owners left in the community began advocating for a park to maintain some sense of community. We wanted green space. Those families that had been in Logan Heights remembered, the old families remembered access to the bay before the naval station. I have photographs of my mother's family having picnics right there on 32nd Street when we had access to the bay. And the final blow, of course, the state of California proposed and the city of San Diego concurred to place a California Highway Patrol station right there where we have Chicano Park. It was the final blow because we really didn't need any more police in our community. We just didn't need any more police in our community. The community stood up in defense as an act of self-discrimination. And on April 22nd, and all of you students listening, you'll hear the National Earth Day, April 22nd. But on April 22nd, 1970, the launching of National Earth Day, the community residents of City College, Mesa College, surrounding universities, Vietnam vets, elders, young children, brown berets, came and we occupied the land for 12 days to create our own park. It was too much. It was too much. This was the tipping point, as they say, in the relationship between the Chicano community and the city of San Diego. The founding of Chicano Park on April 22nd, after residents and activists in Barrio Logan participated in the takeover of the land that was being prepared for the California Highway Patrol Station. The park is distinguished by Maya and Aztec kiosks in the center, surrounded by sculptures and more than 90 plus monumental murals painted on the pillars, abutments, and ramps in San Diego Coronado Bay Bridge. You'll hear different amounts of murals in the park only because it depends on how you count a mural, and I'll explain that later. But I'm close to 100, but I left it conservatively at 90 plus. This is the kiosco in the middle of the park. This is the mural of the founding of Tenochtitlan. That's right on the, if you walk up into the kiosco, it's up on top. I'm not gonna spend a lot of time mentioning all the artists, but it's just, there's just so many. But this was initiated by Felipe Adame and then a crew, Guillermo Roset and a number of other artists that worked with him. This is kind of a view of, on the right, Cuauhtemoc. On the left, you see a guerrillera from the Mexican-American War, the Revolution. This is the logo for Chicano Park, La Tierra Mía, April 22nd, 1970. This is the historic mural, and it is the historic mural because it's the first one that was attempted to begin the process of mural making in the park. And if any of you have seen the Chicano Park film, you could hear Queso talking about his vision. I still consider Queso, Salvador Queso Torres, as the visionary and one of the elders in our community that needs to be respected and taken care of through the years. Sometimes he's got a lot to say. Sometimes he doesn't have too much to say, but he's very important in our community. This is Mario Torero's Colossus. I'm just gonna kind of go through these until we come to a little bit of context, but I really wanted to just focus on the way the murals look, because the murals tell stories. And when I was working on the nomination to get the park listed on the National Register, I included the stories of communities. You know, I was told to go and look for sources that I could quote out of books. And frankly, when I was doing the nomination for Chicano Park, there was nothing that I could replicate in all of the National Registers. So I began going back to oral histories that I had collected over the years. And I used a lot of the oral histories as my source material for documenting Chicano Park. This is the other side of all the way to the bay. This mural took so long to get into place because they really didn't want access to the bay again, but we kept fighting and finally gained access. And we were looking to name this Chicano Park on the Bay. However, the powers that be at that time were more interested in recognizing Cesar Chavez, which we understand is important. So the park on the bay as part of the Port of San Diego is called Cesar Chavez Park. This is the Allende mural. And you can see in the background, this is like a sacred space. It is our sacred land. This mural is a Che. The Chicano Pinto Union. And I bring this one up, the Coquelicue, because when it was being done and it was completed, the KKK came in one year and they threw paint, which landed over here on the steps of the kiosco. And then they threw paint at Susan Yamagata's mural, and you could see all the drippings of the paint. And she left the drippings in. There's a couple of stories, but the story I remember her saying was that she left the paint dripping and incorporated it back into the mural so that everyone would never forget that our culture and our images are always under attack by people who don't understand or who don't like us or who don't care. And we've seen that over the years with the arrival of the Proud Boys in 2017 in September, and then again in 2018 in February. This is another Mario Torero mural. And the Kiosco, and I brought the Kiosco back up to let you know that everything we've done in Chicano Park has taken a multitude of effort. We've had to fight for everything that's in that park. It took us more than 7 years to negotiate this kiosk. And the person that was working really hard on this was Tommy Camarillo. And then the person that was working really hard on access to the bay was Ron Trujillo. May he rest in peace. But I mentioned that because nothing has come easy for this park. The powers that be at the time, we negotiated for 7 years. They wanted something to reflect the mission era. And we adamantly refused, saying that if they were more interested in the mission era, we had the mission, we have the Presidio, there are other replicas in San Diego that they could point to. And we worked with an architect for the design, and I feel really bad for Mr. Larin because he was being told by the city to do something, and then he was working with the community, and the community was adamant. This is what we wanted, and so this is what we got. And I say that because it also comes back to a disrespect. They didn't care what our community wanted. I mean, they didn't care when they put the freeway in. They didn't care when they put the Coronado Bay Bridge in. And frankly, you know, I think we're gaining traction now, but only because we're gaining some representation at the city, at the state, at the county levels that can articulate our concerns. This was done by Arturo Singh. There he is there. And this is a queso mural, the bottom part, one of the murals he's done, not too many in the park, but on Harbor Drive, you'll see the historic mural that reflects the park, reflects the cannery workers in Logan Heights. This was redone recently, well, not recently, but Celia Rodriguez, Irma Barbosa, Gloria Galindo came to help, and a number of other artists during the restoration of the murals. Again, this is Felipe Adame. This is Norma Montoya. This was initially Gato Felix's piece, and he had passed by then. In the background, you see Jose Montoya's piece on education. And this is the mural that's across the street from the historic mural. And this is before the herb garden and our partnership with Environmental Health Coalition to create the herb garden and to maintain it. But, you know, and I'm showing you these because if you look at different symbols and images, many of the alt-right have come out to attack us. This is really a Buddhist symbol and a traditional indigenous symbol. But of course, every time you hear anything from the alt-right, it's a Nazi symbol, and that we're promoting Nazism and you know, a bunch of other crazy stuff. This is another image. This is after the herb garden has been in place. You know, Latinos outdoors. I'm sorry about that. This is another piece. That's why I say, in terms of counting murals, this could be considered one mural because it's not consistent with the murals on the other side. So it could be 4 murals, it could be 1 mural, or it could be 2 murals. So the count varies depending on how you see the murals. So this was also part of Celia Rodriguez's, the Royal Chicano Air Force women that had come down to paint in the early 70s, Barrio Logan. Michael Schnorr, photographed by Todd Stans, and he was also an artist that helped paint. This is Victor Ochoa, and this is Michael Schnorr, of course, and Susan Yamagata and others that worked with him. All of these murals, I'll give you the lead artist, but it's important to understand that they were done by teams. And that's important, especially as the Chicano Park Museum and Cultural Center gets going. We're working on an exhibition of the artists that have painted in Chicano Park. And we quickly realized there was no way we could get all the artists who have painted in Chicano Park into one exhibition. So as we go forward, we're looking at possibly 3 exhibitions that will be helping us open the new museum. Again, Montoya's piece. Jose Montoya was criticized for the star. You know, are you promoting communism? I'm not sure whether I've got this slide presentation on a timer. It seems to be moving on its own. This is another piece. This is a great piece. I love this is Jorge Gonzalez piece because it tells a history from teletype days all the way to, you know, communication, and you see the deportation of Mexicanos during the Great Depression. You see Jorge here playing music in LA for a radio station, and then he gets hijacked, he's sent to prison. So you'll see the prison tower in here somewhere. I can't see it, it's not blown up big enough for me. But anyway, I'm saying that because each of the murals that we have tell a story. And I mean, you could do a whole semester on this one mural itself, I'm sure. This is the tribute to farm workers, Michael Schnorr and others, of course. This is Rupert Garcia's design carried out by Victor Ochoa and other artists in the community. And the story is, this one caused a lot of pain. This is Ricardo Favela and Esteban Villa and other artists. And then when they restored it, they put more color into the woman. She's an ascending woman, as Esteban told me. But in the renovation, unfortunately, Favela had passed, so he was unable to participate in the restoration of this mural. This is the children's mural, Lowell Elementary, guided by Victor Ochoa. This is one of our newer murals that was finished this summer. This is the Hernandez Rojas mural done by Victor Ochoa, Mario Chacon, and a number of other artists. It's just too many artists to list all the names. You can also see in the back the sculpture that is Raul Jaques. This is the back side of that mural of the, and this mural is really about the gentleman at the border and being beaten and killed by the Border Patrol. He had been living in this country, working here for many, many years, and he was coming back and, you know, things escalated. And so it's all the story. It's all the story of him. And we worked very closely with his family to collect the information and, you know, his transition. This is the families, the wife, and, you know, that you could tell this is what they, you know, they do and continue to do to our people. This is the Kumeyaay creation story. And I'm sorry, I don't have a really good photo of this, but it was Carmen Calo, Isaias Crow, and his wife, Irene, and a number of other people also worked on it. And then I'm gonna just kind of segue here into just showing you that the park is consistently used. This is one of our Chicano Park days. This is a Kumeyaay blessing by Stan Rodriguez. He works for, you know, Stan's been in the community for many, many years. I remember Stan when he was a young man coming through, doing a lot of work. He's followed the traditions for as long as I've known him, and he is trained with many, many, many elders. He's now considered an elder doing a lot of work in the community. And he comes periodically, blesses. He was there when we were attacked by the Proud Boys on February 3rd, 2018. Many people came all over, and I'll tell you that story in a minute. This is just a quick one. I was speaking. This is the Brown Berets. You know, they were there when we took over the park. They're still here. They still work with the community, with the Chicano Park Steering Committee. The danzantes that have been there. When Florencio Yescas came in '74 to begin teaching some classes out of the Centro, the Toltecas in Aztlán took up the mantle and began danza. And I was part of that danza group early on. And then eventually Mario Aguilar was recognized as a Capitan in Mexico and formulated his own group as Michicayot. And they're still in existence today. Toltecas kind of went different ways. Guillermo Rosette took danza to New Mexico. Tupac took danza to Arizona. Felipe took danza up to Pasadena, and he has since passed. And Azcleca was in the community for many years. And I actually was doing danza in Sacramento, but eventually had a family and had to choose priorities. So this is another kind of aerial view. This is done by the Lowrider Council of San Diego. And there are new murals, and unfortunately I was unable to get a couple of copies. So there's about two other murals, one by Ruben Mendez and the other one by Sal Barajas, Amigos Cub, and then one Kumeyaay Princess. So I wanted to show you the lowriders because the lowriders have been consistent working with us and always come. I'm just kind of showing you that's the largest lowrider show that's not a commercial based show. And you know, lowriding is still very prominent throughout our communities. And but many of the car shows have gone into a commercial venue in a sense that, you know, you've got to pay to get in, you know, there's judges and you have awards, and it's big business now, and that's good. I mean, I think it's good. Some people don't think it's that great. I think anytime our community can show some of our cultural resources, it's important. But Chicano Park celebration with the lowriders is the largest one really in the nation that still is a basic car show. Now we do a couple of prizes. We do children's prizes. We do other things, but and it's orchestrated by the steering committee. And I got to tell you, if you're a lowrider and you want to be in the show, you kind of have to keep attention to when that opens up, usually in January. And unfortunately, we're still in pandemic time, so there's no car show this year, although there's been some social media activity that has been saying there's a car show on the 25th. That is wrong. We're not sponsoring it. We still have not opened up the park because our community has been hit the hardest with this COVID. There's just a couple of aerial views of when the park is in celebration. We couldn't afford to open it up. We've been known to receive over 10,000 visitors on Chicano Park Celebration Day. So we have to be very careful because our community suffers. We're going virtual this year, April 19th through the 25th. And the links will be posted through the Chicano Park Steering Committee webpage and the Chicano Park Museum webpage, probably by the end of the week. Just want to kind of, here's a prize winning bike. A lot of the youngsters come and soup up their bikes. And so it's just, you know, activities. This is an old photograph. This is our past council member, David Alvarez, with his wife doing arts and crafts. Just some mascara making. activities. This is right in front of that sacred circle that's across the street on the Logan Avenue side, this one right here. And this is an altar because, you know, and that's what we're facing right now. And if anybody is interested, we do need letters of support. Mr. Sepobio was a drunk sailor that drove off the Coronado Bridge while we were having, the park was being used. There was a motorcycle run from Los Angeles to San Diego. It was a charity run. And when he, Mr. Sepobio, drove off the Coronado Bridge, he was going about 81 miles an hour, couldn't take the turn, and he lost control, flew off the bridge and killed 4 people. He injured 7, killed 4, and traumatized a whole audience of people at the park. There's still people that are suffering from what they saw and experienced that day. This altar went all the way out and then eventually circles back and is about right here now. It's still there. And the story I was telling you is we learned that Mr. Sepobio was sentenced probably about 3 years ago to 9 to 15 years in prison. But after less than 3 years in prison, he was recommended to be released for killing 4 people, injuring 7. He's out on bail, or I don't know what you call it, reconnaissance, I guess. He's out. And recently we just learned that he is petitioning to get his record erased. And so we need letters of support by April 15 to counter his request of having his record expunged. He murdered 4 of our community members. They were not from San Diego. 2 were from Arizona, a mother and a father, leaving 3 adult children, or 2 adult children and 1 young one. She's an adult now. And then 2 people from Los Angeles were killed. And it's just, you know, you go back to, you know, racism and white privilege and all these other things. How does this person get away with expunging a record because he's been in the firefighting program in the prison? I'm sorry, he killed 4 people through negligence. He should pay. Chunky, you all know Chunky, you heard his music. Chunky is a National Heritage Fellow. The late Chunky Sanchez was very important to our community. He's still important to our community. His family is still important to our community. And he was awarded the National Heritage Fellow in 2013, which is the highest award in the nation for artists doing any kind of traditional work. And of course, Chunky was awarded for his traditional Chicano work. The only other artist that was awarded a national heritage for his Chicano music was Agustin Lira. Agustin Lira is one of the co-founders of Teatro Campesino, and he is in the Fresno area. He has an organization and a group called Teatro de la Tierra. I say our ground is sacred because when Chunky passed, they brought his body to the park, and we did a eulogy there. So, current status of the Barrio. After more than a 5-year democratic process, the stakeholders, residents, shipbuilders, shipbuilding associations, school, church representatives, and other residents came together and approved a community plan for Barrio Logan. It was approved in September 2013 by the City Council. However, the shipbuilding industry really got their underwear tied up in a knot over 9 blocks. It was the 9 blocks that we had advocated as a buffer zone between industry and residents. And they, you know, they had a lot of money. NASCO, the main shipbuilding builder here in San Diego, contracted Southwest Strategies consulting firm led by Pedro Anaya to launch a signature gathering campaign to overturn city council action by referendum. They paid big bucks for these signature gatherers, and they were set up at, you know, the usual places in front of grocery stores and everything. And they lied. They were lying to the community. They said that if our Barrio Logan community plan went forward, that that the city would lose jobs because NASCO would relocate and that the Navy would move. And, you know, it's amazing they got all these signatures. It just kind of tells you how ignorant people are. The city, you know, NASCO, the Navy, they're not going to leave what they've got down here in their industry and their business over 9 blocks. They're not going to do that. Anyway, the consultants, this is all stuff I did. Anyway, the San Diego Port District Attorney at the time, along with the Environmental Health Coalition, we launched a legal action trying to stop the referendum. And we met with the attorney at the time, who agreed that the signature gatherers were lying to the community. But at that point, she said, well, it's too late to take it off the ballot because that was the deadline. She could have done that, but she didn't. And it wasn't the current Mara Elliott and the current administration of city attorneys. Anyway, they won. The whole city voted against Barrio Logan, less than 4,000 residents here now, and they voted against us. But that triggered another action. Our current mayor, Todd Gloria, at the time was in the legislature, and he issued an edict that, actually he issued a law that would prevent anybody voting against a Soul Community's community plan. He voted, and the law is you can't do that. The community comes together, they formulate their plan, and that's what they operate out of. Well, what's left with Barrio Logan is we're operating off of a plan of 1979. And the consequences of that, because I do sit, as you heard, on the Barrio Logan planning group, is that people are coming in, everybody's buying property and they want to do this and they want to do that. And, you know, we're interested in housing, low income housing for our community to maintain some type of community. We haven't been able to get it. We were targeting the old Bank of America located on National and Sampson. Well, that's going to be a storage place now. Not extra space storage, but a storage place. And we really tried to negotiate with the guy not to do it. We told him that if our plan was in place, that he wouldn't be able to do it. And, you know, he just said, well, that's why I'm doing it now, because I won't be able to do it later. We were able to negotiate with him that once the storage facility is up, there will be storefronts on the bottom of his building. So there can be businesses, barrio businesses that can take place there. But it's really a loss for the community. So preservation actions for Chicano Park, Chicanos and Indigenous Resources. Chicano Park and the National and Chicano Park Monumental Murals were listed on the register in 2013. Dr. Manny Galaviz and myself co-authored the landmark status that was approved 2016. I'm adamant, and thank you, Vicki, for stating that it was approved under the Obama administration, because what everybody recognizes is the press release that came out in 2017, and that was the onstart of President number 45 taking over. And I didn't want to give that president any credit because he had nothing to do with this effort. Chicano Park Museum and Cultural Center, in 2015, I incorporated as a nonprofit organization, primarily because in 1980, when the Chicano Federation was in the building there in Chicano Park providing social services, they were being forced to move. And that's another story that we can take up at another time. But the issue, what happened there was, at the time I was the director of the Centro Cultural in Balboa Park, but I was also a member of the Chicano Park Steering Committee, and I met Jose Gomez, who was the chair of the Chicano Park Steering Committee at the time, and myself were in the building, and we met with Dr. Phil Del Campo. Some of you may remember him. He was part of the community college system, but he was also a negotiator for the city of San Diego. And so he came to negotiate the facility, because when the Chicano Federation moved out, the Chicano Steering Committee, we remained there. We stayed there for about 3 months. However, we knew that we could not maintain that building at the time, and we negotiated with Dr. Del Campo and letting him know that we were only in agreement with any kind of services that were going to be beneficial to the community. And at that time, he talked about Cesar Chavez adult and continuing education moving in, and they would only be there until they built them a building. We just didn't know it was going to take 35 years to build a building. And many people died along the way. But when I heard they were moving out, I came back and I went to, at that point, he wasn't quite mayor yet, and that was Mayor Filner. I began meeting with him, and then he became mayor, and then he became a bad mayor, and we lost him. So then I started working with the next mayor and the city council to get the building back. And I was able to negotiate the building coming back to the community for the Chicano Park Museum and Cultural Center. I put plans together, and we were awarded on August 7th, 2018, the 10,000 square foot building that will focus on art, history, science, and the Cultural Center doing programming. There is a new, like I said, the Barrio Planning Group in place. For the last 2 years, I was a subcommittee of residents, Environmental Health Coalition, Shipbuilding Association, NASCO, and 2 other members of the planning group. And we worked for 2 years to come together to establish a memorandum of understanding regarding the 9 blocks that were in contention on Main Street for a buffer zone between industry and the residents. And we were successful, and now we're going forward, and we'll be presenting it to the mayor and the city council later on, probably towards the summer. I'm working with the planning department right now, and so we're following their timeline, but it's going to go back to city council for approval this year. Okay, what remains the same? Barrio Logan still has the highest rate of ER visits for breathing related issues in the state of California, according to California Environmental Protection Agency. Barrio Logan is still the highest level of air pollution due to industry and freeways. Barrio Logan is still plagued by light and noise pollution. Gentrification is occurring at such a rapid rate that homeowners are having a hard time resisting the developers' offers to buy their properties at unbelievable prices, and renters can hardly afford to stay in their homes and businesses. And I say that because properties in Barrio Logan are ridiculously priced right now. The place next to my home just recently sold for $700,000. And a friend of mine that lives in Carlsbad saw in the paper that another property down by 17th and National was listed at $1 million. So what has changed? New political leadership overseeing the area, city council, mayor, county board of supervisors. The state of California mandating by law that environmental racism and social injustice practices in underserved communities make serious efforts to correct their wrongs. There are, the Air Pollution Control District has formulated a steering committee of air pollution control district portside communities. So it's made up of Barrio, Logan, National City, and then other industries that are stakeholders. New hope for the future as many next generation community. And I hope all of you students are listening, because I consider you the next generation, are beginning to stepping up to get involved, utilizing their lived experience and knowledge of their community and their experience, including education, to participate in planning boards, steering committees, to defend what is left of this community. And you know, we're a small community, but we're still fighting. It's just been a fight all along. So the current view, this is the building in Chicano Park that will be the future home of the Chicano Park Museum and Cultural Center. I have some renditions that I've been working out with architect. There have been flaws, but I'll show you anyway, and I'll point them out. So this is what we're thinking about. It's nothing set in stone, but we'd like it to look something like this, or you know, some variation, maybe not those colors, but you know, we're looking at sprucing up the building for the museum. So the vision is, by preserving a history of struggle, we will educate and empower individuals to become agents of change in their own community. Chicano Park Museum and Cultural Center is open for everyone to enjoy. It is a space where people can communicate openly, create diverse relationships, and take pride in their communities. Through our exhibitions, we educate individuals about Chicano, Latino, Latina, Indigenous, and then the X at all of that, because I forget the X sometimes, culture and history. We also host a variety of fun educational classes and activities for the public involving a wide range of arts, literature, science, and history. And currently we have a California Arts Council grant with that was awarded for artistic excellence for Herbert Sigüenza, who is a co-founder of Culture Clash, that is working with us, gathering oral histories to eventually put on a play at the end of his residency. However, COVID hit, so he's been doing everything online. And we're looking to try to extend the residency out another year so that we could really do what he wants to do in a good way. And we'll be in partnership with the San Diego Repertory Theater for that production, as well as Logan Heights Library and other community resources via Internacional, the Bread and Salt Cultural Center, and the Barrio Logan Association, along with the Logan Avenue Consortium. We will move forward. So we initially started really dreaming big. This section up here, we thought we'd try to do a green, but we couldn't do it. So this is out. We have 3 separate HVAC systems for archives, collection, the gallery, and the museum. And they're all up on top of the roof, and the roof cannot handle that. This little mural over here was a Judy Baca replica. This is the side of the building. We still have that entrance, but we thought, hey, this could make something very beautiful with glass. Well, that kind of got shut down because there's a bearing wall right here. So we couldn't do it. So we're reworking all of these thoughts, but this is what the center of the building looks like. This is all gallery. This is a community room. This is the offices. This will be the offices of the Chicano Park Steering Committee. This will be a workroom. This is a gift shop. And this will be artist creative spaces. These 2 places have water. This is where the archive will be. And then back over in here will be collections. So, you know, we're moving forward. This is one of my board members, Alberto Pulido. He's training our next generation of docents. And of course, this was prior to the pandemic. But we do tours and work with youth and adults, of course. And this is a partnership that we established with USD, University of San Diego. and we came up with the concept for a mobile classroom. And it was perfect during the pandemic. But I mean, we were moving in this direction before the pandemic. As a matter of fact, in 2018, we hosted, and I think I have another shot, I'll show that to you. But this is what the book, the Turning Wheels mobile classroom looks like. And this up here, we actually hosted, excuse me, a gentrification workshop back in 2019, because we lost the Chicano Art Gallery that was on Logan Avenue. People were getting excited because La Vuelta was taking place, the lowrider cars on Wednesday nights, and businesses were flourishing. However, the owners of those buildings then, started jacking up the rent, and people couldn't afford to stay there. So we lost the Chicano Art Gallery, we lost La Bodega Center. And so we thought we would host a gentrification workshop. So we had 2 panels that we did, brought in the community, and so this is what the inside looks like. We do a little exhibition in there. Last year, right before the pandemic, we partnered with the Side Lot, which is next to Thorn Brewery. It's a side lot, and we did a San Patricios celebration, recognizing the work of the San Patricios during the Mexican-American Revolution. And we used the bus, we partnered it over there. We brought in mariachi, Irish music, ballet folklorico, Irish dance. We had Victor illustrate or show his mural that he did in Belfast. We had Mark Day screen the documentary on Los San Patricios. So we've been consistent in doing programming, at least one big program in a year, up until the pandemic hit. And then we were actually able to pull off the San Patricios. So we did do programming in 2020, but we had other things planned. We were looking at opening, and all of that got closed down. So this is a partnership that we did with B. Zamora, and B wrote this book, The Spirit of Chicano Park, and we'll be selling it off of our website. All of the sale of this book goes to the Chicano Park Steering Committee and to the Chicano Park Museum and Cultural Center. We're very thankful of B. B was a counselor and educator down at Southwestern College. And the illustrator in this book is Mayra Mesa. So these are a couple of posters that we had designed. This was for the 20th, and this one actually, because we did have the celebration, but the 21st was this one. We didn't have the celebration, and we put the 20th and 21st, April 2020 and 2021. However, there is a new poster that was designed for the 21st anniversary. So we'll have that one out soon. And then I just kind of leave you with questions, right? Why is it that when communities of color advocate for social change against toxic environments and fight to preserve water, land, and what's left of their communities, they're referred to as agitators, rebel rousers, troublemakers? But when others fight for the environment and water, they're referred to environmentalists or EJ workers. It's just something I keep running into over the years. When you talk about, discrimination, segregation, and racism, we're always in a different category. This is our new logo. And with that, I think we can stop sharing and then talk a little bit more. I will tell you that what we've been doing, trying to get ready for virtual Chicano Park celebration, has been very exciting, although, we're still learning all the technology and how things work and how we go forward. But we're fighting the good fight, but what's very sad, and you all know, is gentrification is a big deal here in this community. My family's been here since 1906, when my great-grandmother arrived from Baja California Sur. And I'm late born. My mom was born in 1914. My dad was born in Los Angeles. My dad's Yaqui. They were escaping the genocide of the Yaquis from the Mexicans at the time, and he came at the turn of the century. Anyway, my parents met in San Diego because he was eventually raised in Logan Heights, went to Sherman Elementary School. My mom was here. And my mom was very active in the first Barrio Logan planning group, trying to get the toxic businesses away from the junkyards and the schools. My mom was sued along with other Barrio Logan residents that were on the planning committee because the industry had a lot of money. We fought it and we won. But you know, it doesn't stop. It's a constant. It's always coming at you, and no matter what you do, there's always another shoe dropping. And so my message that I've been trying to work with here in Barrio Logan, and I've been trying to really be consistent. I've been asked to do a lot of other things, and I just have decided I'm not doing that. I can't do that and get this museum going. We're trying to raise enough money to hire somebody, hire a director, hire somebody to work the cultural center part. We've got a lot of things going for us and we're excited about it. But like I said, it's all about the next generation stepping up. And I'm hoping you students that are watching will think about that because, you know, it's time. It's time to get involved. My initial introduction to activism came from my parents. Well, in particular, my mom in the canneries, fighting in the canneries for unions and being aware of that, but really was about attending City College and really with the takeover of Chicano Park. I became very active. I stayed involved. I'm still involved. And I'm hoping that you as students, you'll all be involved and you will take your studies serious. You'll educate yourself and hopefully you'll work on these boards and these planning commissions because they're making decisions and they're making decisions without us. Even today, I mean, there are things happen. Well, you know, you weren't involved. We didn't hear your voice. And I'm saying, you know, I'm just recently have just worked with Ortega Park in Santa Barbara. They came in, the city once wanted this big grant. And so Ortega Park is on the east side where all the raza is, and there's murals there. And they came in, they didn't do a CEQA evaluation. They proposed to eliminate the murals until the community finally stood up. There's a senior complex right across the street, you know, and they say, well, we had all these virtual meetings for the community to provide input. And so I was brought in and I asked the question, you know, do seniors know how to do Zoom? Did you go to the park? Were you there at lunchtime when they go and eat? Did you talk to them? Did you talk to anybody else? Did you talk to people that really respect those murals? They hadn't talked to anybody. It's all virtual. You know, we're doing virtual. Well, you know, a lot of our community, and you know, you've seen the newspapers over the last 6 months on the big divide between, you know, south of the 8 in terms of access to computers. You know, our kids are falling behind because we don't have access. So you're doing these public meetings. How is our community going to provide input if we don't even know how to use the technology? Or maybe we do know how to use the technology, but we don't have access to it because we don't have computers and libraries are closed. Well, the last thing we did before I turn it into Q&A is the bus, our mobile classroom, we set it up at the Port of San Diego down at Chicano Park on the Bay. And we worked with schools around the area and we set up a hotspot because on their bus, somebody donated enough money. So we got the technology to provide a hotspot for up to 100 access. And we invited these parents to bring their students down and they parked there in the parking lot and the kids were doing their homework or their projects. So we've been using the bus in that way. 2 weeks ago, we set it up and we worked with powers that be, and we gave vaccines. The Brown Berets went door to door to knock on doors and bring people in to get vaccinated because our community's not getting vaccinated. So anyway, I'm just saying that there's a lot of work to do. And as students, we hope that you will be involved and work with us and we can go forward. So, I mean, I can go on and on and on, but I think it's more important now to open up for questions. And I hope that worked for your understanding.
That was amazing, Josie.
That was fantastic.
I feel like we just went through an amazing journey from the past, the present, and into the future. What an amazing presentation. Thank you so much. But yes, we do have about 10 minutes left for questions. So what we're going to do is, if you have a question, there's a Q&A button at the bottom of the screen. You can type in your question there. I see that there are 2 questions there, so we'll get to those. But you can type in your question there, or if you prefer to ask your question directly, just raise your hand, use the raise hand button, and then I'll recognize you and allow you to ask your question to Josie directly in that way. Vicky, since you are one of the hosts, you have the privilege of asking the first question. Go ahead.
Well, first, I want to say thank you so much. Honestly, in the 10 years that we've been doing this, I have to say this is one of the most interesting presentations that we've had. I mean, you kept me captivated the whole time. And I really feel that as much as I know about Chicano Park and about the surrounding communities, I feel that I got a lot from this presentation. So thank you so very much. That is the first thing I wanted to say, but I do have a question. Just because of who I am and how I see things, the name Chicano Park, has there ever been any discussion of having it more reflective of the contributions of women? Because as we know, between yourself and some of the other women who really were essential in the history of Chicano Park, the word Chicano doesn't necessarily encapsulate the spirit of womanhood. Has there ever been a discussion of changing the name or expanding the name to include Chicana or perhaps even Chicanx to really reflect the contributions of women? Because I go to Chicano Park and I see a lot of masculinity in the murals. I know that a lot of men have been part of the muralist movement, but so much of the history is very feminine and very woman-centered. And I'm wondering if there has been any push towards being more inclusive in the naming of Chicano Park and the recognition of the part that women have played in it.
Well, I would say, I would say no. I'm just going to say no to begin with, because when we took over the park, I mean, we just immediately say, this is our Chicano Park. And in them days, there was no, definitive Chicana, Chicanx, Latinx. There were none of that. It was Chicano Park. And so we have held on to it just in terms of it being Chicano Park, not necessarily reflective of male or female. And I have not heard any discussion of going back to change that. People have talked about Latinx, people have talked about, other things. I mean, I consider myself a Chicanindia. I would name it Chicanindia Park, right? Because the both of us are. Yes. But I would say even some of the elders still involved with Chicano Park Steering Committee, don't even use Latinx. They don't use the X, so right. I think we're a ways away from that. And I don't know if we would ever change it. And now that it's a National Historic, listed on the National Register, listed as a national landmark, I'm sure there could be some amendment, but I don't know that there's really the interest. And with regard to muralists, there's plenty of female muralists that have painted in the park. I mean, I didn't show you Patricia or Yolanda or, Celia or any of those other works, but yes, but the answer, at this point, I would say no.
Okay, thank you so much. I really appreciate you answering my question.
Okay, so we do have 4 questions now in the Q&A board, so let me go ahead and get to those. The first one is from Alexa Villa. I think it says there's usually something that happens every summer having to do with painting more murals. I really don't know what it's called though, but I was wondering if you knew about it.
Well, there's a process for painting a mural in the park. You have to have your maquettes and your drawings approved by the Chicano Park Steering Committee. I think what Hector Villegas has done in the last couple of years, we've done a couple of temporary murals. And those are the smaller murals. They're, maybe about 5 feet high. And when he was getting the skate park going, because he was the effort behind the skate park, he really focused on those smaller murals. And then over the years, he's worked with the city and other people to paint the electric boxes. So there are different efforts, but if it's a full-blown mural, it has to go through a process that is approved by the Chicano Park Steering Committee.
Okay. Our next question is Maria Aguila. I love the story of Stan Rodriguez, a member of the Kumeyaay, blessing the land of Chicano Park. Can you tell us if any Kumeyaay members were a part of the takeover?
Well, Stan, I'm sure Stan was there because I remember Stan way back when. And you have to understand, again, let me just say, because of restrictive residential covenants, when many people, this was before casinos, when people would leave, you know, Barrio or Viejas or any of the other reses around, and you know, San Diego County has more Indian reservations than anywhere in the whole nation. But when they would leave, they would come to Logan Heights. So, you know, that's why I showed you, you know, the villages there. The villages were gone by then, but those members would still come. I mean, I remember my friends that before casinos, of course, that lived here, that were my neighbors, my mom's neighbors that are friends, people who have died. But it's hard to say if somebody was Kumeyaay, because a lot of times, like myself, I have to define myself. You know, they want to put Hispanic, but my father's Yaqui, my mother's Chicana. So I try to maintain that, but you know, when it gets all washed out, I become Chicana, you know, or, you know, Latina X, they don't, you know, the Yaqui gets thrown out. So I couldn't tell you if Yaquis were involved. I mean, if Kumeyaay were involved. I do know that now there are some people in the community, young people, and they're descendants of Kumeyaay from Baja California. And then some of the Kumeyaay of the reses come down here, but that's as far as I know right now.
Okay, our next question is from Giovanna Gudino. Thank you for your time, Josephine, and thank you for your amazing presentation. I learned so much from you and the history of Chicano Park. I have a question. What is your favorite mural, or is there a specific mural that speaks to you more?
Wow.
That's a good question. Yeah,
that's a really good question. I guess the historical mural, because it tells the story. I think in terms of aesthetics, I loved Gato Felix. I loved Mario Torero's work. I love Felipe Adame's work. I mean, it's hard for me to choose. I loved Celia's work. I loved the work that Yolanda Lopez did. I love the new work that Patricia Aguayo and Jazz and other younger artists are doing. I can't choose. They're all my favorites.
I think you named them all already just right now.
I love the one that Patricia did of Tommy Camarillo, because that one was, Tommy didn't know it was going to be that. And when she gave her permission to paint and then she painted it, Tommy was like, ah, because I don't know, you all had presented Tommy. Tommy loves to talk, but she, you know, she's also very cautious. And so anyway, a new mural has gone up too, Ruben Mendez, and I'm in that mural. And you know, it's hard. It's just hard.
It's got to be an honor too. I mean, I understand what you're saying, but it's got to be an honor also to be chosen to be in a mural. Okay, we have several other questions. We have Alondra Sanchez. I'm part of Mecha for Mesa College and wanted to know, what do you recommend for us in getting involved with the community, and or any ideas of what to do in this time of the pandemic?
Pandemic's hard. I would say get involved with Herbert Sigüenza right now. We've been doing Zooms. They'll resume again in May, but on Wednesday evenings. And you can send me an email, Chicano Park Museum @gmail.com, or my own personal email, which is jstalamantez@gmail. And then I can connect you to Herbert. I don't have his email off the top of my head right now.
Josie, can you give me your email address again, and I'll put it into the chat?
JS as in Sam, Talamantez, ending with a Z, @gmail.com. Just tell me who you are. Yes, tell me who you are and what your interest is, and I'll direct you. We'll be needing docents at the park. We'll be needing docents in the museum. We'll be needing volunteers. Like I said, we're raising money right now to hire. Everything has been done. I have not been paid. No one's been paid. Everything we're doing right now has been a labor of love. Except for Herbert, I was fortunate enough to receive for artistic excellence a grant from the California Arts Council to support his effort working with us. And then I received another California Arts Council grant where I was able to bring in another person on a consulting basis just to kind of help with some of the administrative stuff that I've been trying to stay on top of.
Okay, and if I hate to say, I don't remember, but I know that Herbert Sigüenza either was just on campus or just had a presentation at Mesa College or is about to. I don't remember those. So if anybody hears from the theater department, you can let us know in the chat.
Herbert is a badass. I love Herbert. He's a co-founder of Culture Clash. And you know, those of you probably don't know, Herbert, I met Herbert back in the 80s when he was in the Mission District, and he was a visual artist at Mission Grafica. So he's badass. He hooked up with Culture Clash, and he's been an actor, director, playwright ever since. But I keep reminding him, hey, you're a printmaker. I'm gonna bring you back to the park and do some prints for us.
Yeah.
But, so if anybody has seen his one-man show of Picasso, oh my God, it's awesome. He's actually painting in this show. And then at the end, I saw it up in Carlsbad, I think. At the end, he sold the piece for a fundraiser for the theater. So he's awesome. And he's fun. He's just a nice guy.
So unfortunately, we're about 11 o'clock, and I think that's the time that we're supposed to end. So I think I'm going to do with one more question, even though we have several here. But I'm going to pick one more question here to ask. Let's go with Janina Calixto. Individually, how can we help Chicano Park achieve all of these goals? You've mentioned we being the future of the park, and I would like to know how or where we could help. Also, any book recommendations? I like that last one, throw in book recommendations. It's always a good one.
Well, you know, the Chicano Park Steering Committee meets once a month, at the last Sunday of each month at 3 o'clock. Used to be out in the park at the Kiosco, but we've been doing virtual with regard to the pandemic. So you could go to the website of Chicano Park Steering Committee. So I'm hoping that we'll be open by the end of the year, beginning of next year. And then you can work with us. We're all interrelated basically, but still there's very distinct separate functions of both of these organizations. So the steering committee is always accepting volunteers. They're always doing free lunches on Saturdays. We're always looking for people to help us. Book recommendations, well, you know, we're working on a number of different projects, and one is the publication of the history of Chicano Park. And we're so glad that B put together the children's book, because we've actually been able to see the work of, how do you say it, the welcome value that it has received. Everybody's so happy, you know, to get this book. So I would say look forward to the next year or so. There should be another book coming out. And that, you know, Chicano Park is listed in a lot of different books. I mean, you can look at, I think it is Barrio Logos. I can't remember the author's name. I mean, they talk about Chicano Park in there. There's a lot of different books. I'm at a loss right now, but I'll try to think of something and maybe send it to you guys, and you can share it with your students. Excellent.
So we are out of time, Josephine. There are so many other questions. No, yeah, it was amazing. I'm telling you, it was just so much information. It was awesome. But Josie, thank you so much for coming by. As you said, this has been over a year since we've been waiting to have this presentation, and it was well worth the wait. So thank you so much. Vicky, is there anything that you want to say to finish off?
Just a really heartfelt gracias to you, to all the work you've done, and just knowing that the barriers that you have faced, you have really made inroads for the rest of us to be able to carry on with this work. So a heartfelt thank you, and just a wonderful presentation. Again, I just want to tell you, I just really enjoyed the presentation. Thank you so very much from the bottom of my heart.
Thank you, and
Yes.
I'm honored to do this today. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. And to all over 90 of you who were here in attendance, thank you so much. We definitely hope that you received a lot of great information, that you enjoyed it as much as we did. And Josephine, thank you again one more time for your amazing presentation and for everything that you have done for Chicano Park and for our community as well.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you, everybody.
Everyone have a wonderful day.
Thanks for joining. Bye. Nicely done, Manuel. That went fantastic. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Oh, I'm telling you, hold on.